Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and as you can tell by the title, this is a little bit of a saltier video. But before we get into what cards I would delete from Hearthstone, I want to clarify a couple things, even though I know I'll get a bunch of dislikes on the video no matter what, because whenever we do a video like this, it always does. But first, none of these cards do I actually think should be deleted from Hearthstone, nor do I ever expect anything like that to happen. It would be silly, but this is more of a hypothetical video. This is purely my opinion, my subjective taste. If you disagree with it, you're totally entitled to that and totally fine. Believe me, if they made Hearthstone to be the game that I wanted it to be, it wouldn't be very good for most people, right? Like, this is purely subjective, and I'm going to limit to this list to mostly cards that I feel like hampers design space on a lot of stuff going like forever and ever, or just cards that just personally piss me off. And whether that's justified or not, it's my opinion, my rational hatred, and feel free to share any card you absolutely hate and would love to see removed from Hearthstone, or you can just disagree, call me stupid, whatever you want. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the 10 cards that I would love to delete from Hearthstone. So starting off at number 10, this is not really a complete card, it's more of half a card, but I would delete the Amazing Reno's Hero Power. I think the Amazing Reno has an awesome battle cry, making the entire board like poof, disappear, like deleting its existence from the game. I think it's a really cool, interesting card, but then you're left with this stupid hero power that just casts random spells randomly. It's just, I feel like it's such a frustrating thing. You want to play a cool, slow, grindy control deck, and then you have to just get screwed over potentially by random nonsense. Like, I would literally rather this just have the ping, the deal 1 damage ping. Like, it's just such a frustration that you have this stupid, silly, meme hero power on such an otherwise really cool and interesting card, in my opinion. So I would delete the hero power and replace it with almost anything else, except I guess cast 2 random spells. I don't know. At number 9, I would delete the Paladin spell Divine Favor. It got Hall of Famed. It's only in Wild, but it's a 3-mana spell that effectively punishes your opponent from drawing cards. And this card has always been the bane of my existence. I like playing slower decks. I like playing control decks. I like playing combo decks. I don't like being punished by pure degenerate aggro, which already punishes most of the archetypes I play, by having cards, by not vomiting my hand. And it's such a frustration that this card allows your opponent to draw like 10 cards for 3 mana or 7 cards for 3 mana. That should be left to Rogue. We'll talk about that later. But regardless, it's just a ridiculous, silly card. It got Hall of Fame for how toxic it was and how just unfun it was. And I'd rather, instead of Hall of Faming it just get outright deleted. No more Divine Favor for anyone. Man, I'm a buzzkill. Number 8, I'm going to go with a card that I think will actually get nerfed, and I probably won't hate it as much at some point, but that's Flinger. Flinger is just the most annoying card in Hearthstone right now, at least in my opinion. It kills you really slowly. It calls you a loser, which I don't need to hear anymore. I get enough of that from the comments and all social media. I get it. And it he even lies and says it wasn't me when we know it was, and he just makes the games last forever and ever. I've been enjoying playing Librum Paladin as Flinger's in it, but I still don't really like the card. Like, it's funny. It's like, the deck's interesting, but the Flinger turns take so long and are so ridiculous. I recently had a mirror that went like 13 turns. It lasted over 20 minutes, and I compared that to like a 13-turn game against like any other deck, and it's usually like 10 minutes, just because the Flinger turns and like the Librum stuff takes so long. It is such an aggravating, annoying card, and outright, I want him deleted. I want him removed from the game, or just have him not go face so he's not in as many decks, and it's probably fine. At number 7, I've got to go with Mindrender Illucia. Do I really need to say any more about Mindrender? Like, it steals your hand, it steals your deck, it steals all the cards you want to do. It gives Priestess this obnoxious ability to just destroy everything, disrupt everything you want to do in the game, and there's no setup. It's literally play the minion and take your stuff. I just think it's like the most toxic style of design. I get Priest needs some form of counterplay, but so do other classes, and is that an excuse for making a card like Mindrender? And it used to be 2 mana. I just find the card to be the most unfun thing currently in Hearthstone, and I'm not including Ticketus on this list, which has similar problems, but it's just not that impactful at the moment because you have to corrupt it. It's 6 mana, whereas Mindrender, you just play it and it's just absurd. even when I comment about it or put Mindrender in the thumbnail, it's just people hate it so much, and unless you're the most dedicated priest player, how can you really honestly argue for anything other than deleting Mindrender from the game? At number 5, Psychic Scream. Psychic Scream, 7 mana, shuffle all minions into your opponent's deck is just the most frustrating, ridiculous board clear I've seen in Hearthstone history. It's ridiculously cheap for its effect. It screws up your draws. It effectively wipes your board of any death rattles or buffs or cool synergy like that. And Priest can get more than 1, more than 2, more than 3, more than 4, because you got cards like Shadow Visions, Lyra. We got a new Discover card from your deck, although it's not a copy, so that's a bad argument. But regardless, Psychic Scream is just, it's too good, it's too infuriating, and it gives Priest access to just the most broken board clear. It's like in every wild deck forever and ever, except for Big Priest. They don't run it for some reason, but regardless, ridiculously good, and they can get a palm reading. It doesn't even matter. Big Priest doesn't even need to run it because they can get a palm reading. Checkmate on that one. Get rid of Psychic Scream. Number 4, we'll finish the hate train. I put 2 priest cards on here. I restrained myself to 2 priest cards, but the second one here at number 4 is like a lot of priest cards, res mechanics in priest. Just take a look at a bunch of these. I just can't stand the resurrect mechanic in Hearthstone in priest. It's just ridiculous that you can summon a million 10 drops by turn like 5, 6, 7, depending on how you high rolled your palm reading or your barns or whatever. It's just infuriating. It doesn't lead to interesting experiences. It's like, oh, he's just gonna cheat a billion mana every turn, and I cannot possibly ever beat this unless I have the absolute perfect counter in like a mill rogue type of deck, or I kill them really quickly with a degenerate aggro deck. Like, I find it to be the most frustrating, boring type of game, and res mechanics in general are just infuriating. I know a lot of people love Res Priest, a lot of people play it, and you're entitled to that, but I'm also entitled to hate it and want it removed from the game. But again, I don't think my wish will be ever fulfilled, so don't worry. If you like spamming some Big Priest, you can keep pissing me off in ladder, and I know a lot of you get a kick out of that, so bring it on. Let's keep this fight on forever. At number 3, I'm going to go with a combination of 2 cards. Ice Block, Timeout, and you can even put in Cloak of Shadows if you want in there. Basically, the cards that make you immune, that make you undamageable. Cloak of Shadows, you can get through it with like Avenging Wrath and other Spawn of Shadows types of cards, but Ice Block, unless you're running Eater of Secrets, you're screwed, and Timeout, well, there's no interaction with that. And I have found this mechanic of just becoming immune, not being able to die, just to be very, very frustrating, not enjoyable, and it does enable cool combo decks, don't get me wrong, but I feel like you should enable cool combo decks through like healing, through proper stalling, through armor gain, not just through, oh, you can't hurt me, nah, come after me, can't hit me. Like, I don't find that to be enjoyable. They Hall of Fame Ice Block for that reason, then reintroduced Timeout. That was really weird. But again, I think it's just one of those types of mechanics that is just not fun, doesn't lead to interactive games, and is just something, as somebody who's played a lot of Ice Block in their time in Hearthstone, I would not be sad to ever not play it again. I would have no problem with that. At number 2, this will probably be pretty controversial, but I'm going to go with Genn and Baku, the odded even cost upgraded hero power cards. I feel like these cards will forever plague Wild, as like, just look at the recent reverts to cards. Like, look how many cards that you could tell were kind of bounced around Genn or Baku, because so many cards are now insanely buffing Baku because they're reverted. See, even with like equality and stuff like that, like the mechanic of these cards, just, they were flawed. They were fundamentally flawed, which led to them being Hall of Famed early, but by Hall of Faming them early, it doesn't fix the issue of it in Wild, and forever we have to deal with these super ridiculously consistent hero power decks that just get to abuse that fact and abuse really incredibly powerful even in odd cost cards. And as more cards are made into the game, the disadvantage of running odd and even cost cards will go less and less and less as things become more and more redundant and powerful times. So I just feel like Genn and Baku will always plague Wild, and if you're really not into those decks, which for the most part I'm not really into hero power decks, it's just going to be a constant frustration until the end of time if you don't like them. So I just remove them. But I know a lot of people love their odd and even decks, and you're entitled to that, and that's awesome. But personally, I would love to see some kind of fundamental change happen. And you know what's fundamental? Deleting it. So delete it. Get out of my game. And before we get to number one, I have a few honorable mentions. First being Secret Passage, mainly because it's made Rogue into an archetype of only run really cheap stuff, and you have infinite draw, and just it's ridiculous. It was originally 5, it's 4 now for like the cards you draw, and it's just absurd. I feel like it's destroyed what Rogue used to be about in cool combos, and now it's just about vomiting your hand every single turn because you're never going to run out of cards. And I just don't like what it's done to Rogue. I love the old Miracle style archetype, tempo mid-range style archetypes, but this whole vomit your hand until you just either go face or generate infinite random crap is just not my cup of tea. Next honorable mention is the created by lackeys, the Discover lackeys, Draconic Ethereal Lackey. They've driven me up the wall. You guys have heard me complain about them a bunch, but they are going to wild where they're not extremely impactful, and that strategy doesn't really work out so well. So more of an honorable mention, but I just wish they weren't in standard for the last 2 years. It was just such a trying and frustrating time, but at least they'll be rotating pretty shortly from now. And Skull of Gul'dan for Demon Hunter. Same argument as Secret Passage. You basically never want to play a Demon Hunter deck that doesn't run a card that's 5 or more. Like, you don't want to play expensive stuff because Skull of Gul'dan is so insane. You never want something on the left of it unless it's something crazy like Sociologist Militia, and even there that card gets cut. And Skull of Gul'dan is just so absurdly good, so absurdly broken that, again, it defies every Demon Hunter deck until it rotates, I guess. And in wild, I guess if because it's on odd cost, you don't want it there. But yeah, Skull will go down for the exact same reason as Secret Passage. So number one, what is the card I would most like to delete from Hearthstone? Well, they literally made a card to delete it from your opponent's deck, and that's Jade Idol. Jade Idol, the card that Skulking Geist was made for, because, well, it's infinite value on a 1-mana spell that unless you delete it with Geist, you have no way to interact with, and it just negates all control strategies effectively in one shot, unless you can do something really degenerate. And Jade Idol is so powerful that you could just throw one copy of this spell with absolutely no Jade support whatsoever and automatically beat a bunch of decks in wild. And I did that this season with Clown Druid. My Clown Druid list literally only runs Jade Idol. You can count Jade Blossom, but I just run that for ramp. It's not even about the Jade. It's just, that's a bonus on top of it. So it's just a card that negates so many strategies, and it's also not exactly the most interesting thing. As Day9 said, your deck is not that exciting when you're just growing a bigger and bigger green man. It's just not very fun for me personally, and it's just a card that I could not stand for the longest time. And I remember when Skulking Geist was first revealed, I said, I'm making 2 golden copies of this. I'm putting it in every single deck I play till the end of time so I can always delete Jade Idol. And well, I still kind of feel that way. So you know what? Delete Jade Idol from the game and I'll totally be cool with it. So there you go. There's my list. And again, this isn't good fun. I don't actually think any of these cards should be deleted from Hearthstone, but I thought it'd be a fun little discussion to have. So let me know in the comments below what cards you would delete from the game or what I'm completely stupid about. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.